Welcome back, everyone! Today on Rick's Random Retro, let's take a closer look at a favorite racing game of mine that I used to play all the time when I was younger. Ignition is a top-down arcade-style racing game made by Swedish developer UDS and published by Virgin in 1997. Made by a very small team, it offers old-school arcade charm and easy-to-learn but difficult-to-master gameplay. It's one of those games that's just plain old fun to play. So, let's take a quick look at the actual box. This is the Scandinavian version, or more specifically the Swedish one, and since this game was actually made in Sweden, the text is indeed in, you guessed it, Swedish. That was not always the case, as games box didn't always get translated. So it's made of fairly thick cardboard, and it's laminated, and it's got a nice sheen to it. Overall, it's held up really good through many years of use, as this is actually the original copy I got as a kid, so I remember seeing magazine reviews of the game and just falling in love with the art style. I just knew I had to have it. So, taking a look at the back of the box, we have even more Swedish text, and who would have guessed it? I won't bother translating everything, but the tagline is pretty great. You can see down here, Ignition, you need skill to drive like a maniac. So, taking a look and opening the box here, it's pretty bare bone. So, you get the game on a single CD. It did come with an insert, but it's gone missing over time. I honestly don't know where it ended up. So, besides that, we have a very basic manual. It's in black and white, not that interesting. The game is pretty easy to play, so you don't need to have a lot of explanation. It's unfortunate there's no extra pack-ins or anything. Like a toy car would have been awesome with a game like this. So, even so, still, that's enough of that. Let's take a look at the actual game. The game supports both software as well as 3D effects modes, and for this capture here I'm running the 3D effects version to get those delicious late 90s crisp graphics. Now for the sake of full disclosure, we are running on retro hardware, but we are using the software wrapper N-Glide, which allows higher resolutions than would have been possible with actual 3D effects hardware, all to provide you, the viewer, with a more pleasant viewing experience. Jumping into the actual game, there really isn't much to what you need to know to play. By default, the arrow keys control your steering inputs, and your right shift key uses your boost ability. You can play with a manual transmission, shifting between low and high, but I feel that's sort of pointless in arcade racers such as this, and I just leave it on automatic. Since this is a racing game, your objective should be no surprise: finish first in a field of 6 cars using whatever tricks you can along the way. It's really delightfully simple and intuitive, which is probably why it's so much fun in the first place. You may feel a game like this will need power-ups and weapons like Mario Kart, but they are absent here. There are no special abilities besides the boost, which fills up automatically over time. So learning the stages where the shortcuts are and when to use your boost are really the keys to winning here. If we take a look at our vehicle choices, here we have the Coupe, a Mini Cooper, Banana, modeled after a Porsche, Evac, a military ambulance, Enforcer, a 1970s cop car, Redneck, a sweet muscle car, School Bus, yes, a school bus, Monster, a monster truck, Bug, a nice Beetle, Smoke, a truck because why not, and an unlockable car Vegas. They all have a certain amount of stats, making them better at taking corners or straight line speed. I tend to prefer the Enforcer since it provides a nice balance between all the available stats. That is until you unlock the final vehicle, but we'll get to that a bit later. Besides their stats, they all have their own unique boost sounds, and you just can't beat the sound the school bus makes. Listen to those happy children as they get flung around on a death-defying rally across the countryside. That's the sound of pure happiness. Or terror. It's kinda hard to tell. Taking a quick look at our available stages, we have Moose Jaw Falls, a nice trek across the Canadian countryside featuring obstacles such as trains, lightning, and the farm tractor. Next we have Gold Rush, giving us a racetrack placed in the middle of a dusty mining town. We have to look out for boulders as well as some pretty crazy jumps here. Snake Island is a nice soothing stage set on a series of tropical islands. A fast stage with plenty of opportunities for shortcuts as well as cliffside plunges into the ocean. Lost Ruins has us racing on top of ancient ruins featuring the largest jump in the game. And I'm sure all the priceless archaeological treasures buried here are fine with some skid marks on them. Next we have Yodel Peaks, which has us racing on and off ski slopes with hazards such as an avalanche to contend with. It features probably the most amount of alternate paths to take to the finish.
Our first unlockable stage is Cape Thor, having us race in and around a northern fishing town. And of course we have to jump a volcano because that's just how this game is. And lastly, the final unlockable stage is Tokyo Bullets, which lets us race around a nighttime Tokyo. This may be the most realistic part of the game as it's in a normal city with plenty of road construction going on hindering our progress. So summing this up, the game is just pure fun to play and one that I keep coming back to. If I have any gripes with it, I'd say the primary one being that on the harder difficulties the CPU does what appears to be so common in racing games. And that is that they follow their perfect racing line come hell or high water regardless of where you are. To me, this makes my car feel like it has no mass at all, as they will simply ram you out of the way. That is until you unlock the final car ignition, which has by far the best stats. Then you can simply leave them behind in a cloud of dust. So great, you watch this video and want to give this game a try yourself. Not everyone has the space or setup required to run this game natively on a retro PC. Emulation is certainly an option, but I would say by far the easiest way would be to buy the game on GOG.com. I'm not affiliated in any way and I'm not sponsored for saying that, but to me it seems like the easiest option to legally play this game. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed a look into this great little arcade racer. Thank you very much for watching, and remember everyone, stay classy.